Hi, Becky.
Hello. How are
How
you?
are you?
I'm good. I see you're in the basement.
I am in the basement. If this doesn't work, I might have to smother them.
I bet it's going to work beautifully.
So far, so good.
Excellent. Good evening, Rita. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Les.
Hello.
Sounds like you're fighting the cold that everyone has.
Yes, indeed.
Ay. It's going around. Everybody's getting it.
I was out in the garden for a few hours this afternoon, and that certainly didn't help.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that fresh air.
We gotta love that fresh air.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. I guess my lighting's very dramatic.
You are dramatic.
Okay, so all we need is Eric.
Becky, do you know if Jeff Quackenbush is joining us?
Leslie?
I was just unmuting. Jeff stopped in today to sign a lien release and he did not appear to be planning to join us. I sent an email out to all the assessors welcoming them, and Jeff indicated to me that he probably would not be joining us.
Okay. And I don't know about Eric. What time is it?
I can try to call him. It's just now 5:30, so I wasn't going to panic. Oops.
Just looking to see if I had any text.
Eric Stalker has joined your meeting. My iPhone just said. Interesting. Why did it say that?
While Becky's searching, I would just like to thank Geneva for coming up with mailing labels instantly. She's a keeper.
You're welcome. And if there's anything else you need, let me know. I'm going to place that order tomorrow.
Oh, perfect, because I've been running by the seat of my pants today and I've had this out all day to look up the color one, and I thought I'm way too late. I'm not going to bring it up, but I will stay and do that after the meeting.
No, you can just, if you want to put it on the case by my door, I will grab it in the morning and I will look it up and add it to the order list.
Okay, I was
Just put
gonna
the
look
box
it up.
right there so that I have it if you want.
Okay, except this is black and white and it's color that I need and the color's gone. Oh, I know, I can, but I can also look up on, I'm assuming you're ordering through Staples. So
Yeah, I
can-
either do Staples or WB Mason.
Oh, all right, then I will just leave a cartridge there so that you see the color
Perfect.
option. Sorry, I don't have a box. Perfect. Oh,
So I
man, it's
apologize,
really
everybody
cheap.
who's who's here. We're waiting on Eric. Melissa is not attending this evening's meeting. But I believe Eric had confirmed.
Can you see it, Geneva? Right there.
There it is. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, there he is.
I had trouble logging in. I'm not sure why. I was not actually late. I just couldn't get on.
Okay, you're
I'm gonna
excused.
blame it on the poor quality of the internet here in Shutesbury.
Yeah. Don't do that.
No, I won't do it.
Okay, as I said, Melissa isn't joining us this evening, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Shutesbury Selectboard to order. Today is November 28th. Is that correct?
29th.
29th, 2022, and this meeting is being held via Zoom. And I too think I have the cold curse or the beginning of it. So just pardon me if I start to lose my voice. If I talk too much, it's definitely a problem, but I will do the best I can. So just as usual, I will go over the agenda for this evening's meeting, and there's one item on the agenda, which is well, actually the approval of minutes, and then we're going to do the tax classification hearing, and one unanticipated item for this evening's meeting. If Eric is in agreement, what I'd like to briefly discuss is a recommendation regarding the Conservation Commission's request to the Shutesbury Finance Committee for a transfer of $2,500 from the reserve funds, and the Finance Committee is meeting tonight. That request was just made, and I felt it was appropriate if we could discuss that recommendation this evening. So we will do that after the tax classification hearing. This is a special meeting, so we dispense with public comment. If there are questions regarding the setting of the tax rate and the valuations, leave time just for a few minutes for questions, but there has been quite a bit of material that was discussed at the last select board meeting. There was a town announce that went out regarding the new valuations and the setting of the tax rate. So that is not, we're not having a lengthy discussion about it. There's a lot of information out there. So I am going to turn it over to you, Leslie, or to Becky to kind of go through the steps for the tax classification hearing.
I'll take the lead in reading through the report that Leslie also helped put together. What we're doing is we're using the report that Kevin Rudden, our ex-assessor, used last year with all the updated data, the new numbers. So I'm going to go through that, and I'm counting on Leslie if she hears me say something inappropriate to flag it, and together we're gonna proceed. So this year, I just want to give an overview. The way the town was able to proceed was by having a consultant hired. His name is Roy Bishop. Roy is, and please excuse me, I do have some background noise, but hopefully you can still hear me. Roy Bishop is an assessor with 30, 40 years of experience. He's well versed in assessing in Massachusetts. We contracted with him to step in to do our reval, as this was a recertification year, which happens every 5 years. So it was critical to go through and review all the values on town's property, and all those properties are reflecting against the sales of 2021. So I'm gonna, from this point, I'm going to read. Leslie, did you say something?
No, I did not.
Okay, so this is the tax classification hearing of November 29th, 2022. This is,
I would only add, that I might interrupt to say that technically it was posted for 5:45, which gives us 5 minutes. I don't know if that's critical or not.
well, I'll leave that up to the chair.
I'm good with going ahead.
Okay. All right.
I am too, for what it's worth.
Great, thank you. So this is the annual classification hearing for the select board to determine what property tax options will be adopted for the town of Shutesbury for fiscal 2023. There are 4 separate decisions for the select board to vote on tonight. The first is to have a single or split tax rate. The second is to adopt or not adopt an open space discount. The third is to adopt, not adopt a residential exemption. And the fourth is to adopt or not adopt a small commercial exemption. Just to give a bit of history, historically, the town has moved not to accept, not to vote the last 3 items every year. But we have always until this date voted a single tax rate, not a split tax rate. And some years we've had a lot more discussion about it. And when we do, we've become very aware of the commercial entities in town and how that would impact them. And then the small businesses in towns are coupled with Verizon, National Grid, and the utilities. So in the past, we have moved ahead without splitting the tax rate. So before you decide these 4 issues, here is some background information on how we arrived at the fiscal year 2023 tax rate. There are 2 parts to the calculation of a tax rate. First is the tax levy. That is the total amount of money being raised through property tax. The fiscal year 2023 tax levy is $5,422,579. Second is the total valuation of property in town. For fiscal 2022, the total assessed value of all property in Shutesbury is $293,272,582. The valuation is $50,328,466 higher, an increase of 20.7% over fiscal 2022's valuation of $242,944,116.
242 million.
242 million, sorry, thank you, Rita. $242,944,116. In calculating new residential values for fiscal year 2022, we studied all single-family residential property sales for the calendar year from January 2021 through December 31, 2021. Overall residential values rose $50,328,466. This 20.7% increase is due to market sales during the time periods just mentioned. The continuing rise in sales versus assessed value that we've seen continuing in calendar year 2022 will be reflected in fiscal year 2023 valuations. We had a few significant changes. We had an increase in of 375,000 that were due to due to the pilot. Getting back to setting, the other changes that we've had they're almost all residential changes, and then there's some changes in the chapter money, which is reflected in the commercial property. And then there have been also some changes in personal property that will be noticed in the overall LA4. Getting back to setting the tax rate, Shutesbury's property tax base this fiscal year remains at about 96% of the residential property. The remaining 4.6% is termed CIP, which stands for commercial, industrial, and personal property. You are allowed to have a split tax rate that shifts some of the residential tax burden to the CIP properties. Shutesbury has always maintained a single tax rate. The single tax rate is calculated by dividing the tax levy by the total assessed valuation, and then by multiplying that number by 1,000. That's, okay, so that's how we arrived at our tax rate last year of $21.83. This year, we will use our new levy, which is the $5,422,579, and we will divide it by the new valuation. In making this calculation, we've come up with a rough estimate of $18.49 per thousand for the new tax rate. The tax rate, this is an estimate, but not the 100% final. The average single family home value has risen from $269,151 for FY22 to I'm sorry, this number wasn't here, to $322,000 for FY23, an increase of 20.5%. By the way, the value of an average single family home value is calculated by dividing the total value of all single family homes by the number of single family homes. Tonight, your first decision is whether to shift the CIP's share of the tax burden up to 150%. Any reduction in the residential tax burden by increasing taxes paid by the CIP classes will result in an enormous impact on the CIP rate with little relief in the residential rate. This is your first, will be your first vote for the select board to make. This would increase the tax rate and property taxes for small businesses, of which there are more than a dozen in town, owners of approximately 130 second homes in town, primarily in the Lake Wyola area, electric utilities such as National Grid and Eversource, and the owners of the 125 or so parcels of Chapter 61 forestry, agriculture, and open space recreation land. Does anybody have questions of who would be impacted by splitting the tax rate? Okay. Because Shutesbury traditionally does not have a split tax rate, I am not providing any examples such as shifting the CIP categories by 1, 10, or 25%, which would be your prerogative. Your second decision is whether to offer an open space discount of up to 25% of the value. This option is not available because there is no open space classified land in Shutesbury. There is a specific definition for open space in terms of assessing, which Leslie provided to me because I was unaware. So for folks like me who assumed we have more open space than any other town, it's not the case when you come to the specific definition. The third decision is whether to allow a residential exemption, which would allow up to 35% of the average, 20% of the average assessed value of residential properties used as the principal residence of the owner. In other words, they own a second home. There are only a handful of communities in Massachusetts that adopted this exemption last year, and they are mostly along the Atlantic coast. Shutesbury has never adopted this exemption. Finally, there is an option to exempt up to 10% of the value of small commercial parcels occupied by the small businesses employing 10 or fewer people, and the value of the property is less than $1 million. Only 14 communities in Massachusetts have adopted this exemption, and Shutesbury never has. So that brings us to the suggested motions that to provide to the select board. The first one is I move
Becky,
that.
can you just stop there for a minute? So Eric, do you have any questions? I mean, this is similar to the presentation that that Kevin did last year, just with all the updated numbers.
Right.
Eric, if you're in agreement, I just wanted to allow if there are any brief questions from folks in attendance this evening, to give them the opportunity to ask questions about what Becky just presented. And if you do have questions, please use your raise hand feature. Okay, I don't see any questions. Okay, so you want to proceed, Becky? I actually have the I have the motions from Kevin's presentation from last year, so I can go ahead and do it. Eric, if you're okay with that, I'll make the motion and then we can vote on it.
Please do.
Okay. I move that the select board vote to establish a residential factor of 1, meaning a single tax rate for fiscal year 2023.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Again, this is something we've done. We've never, had a separate tax rate for commercial property. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. I move that the select board vote not to adopt an open space discount for fiscal year 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. I move that the select board vote not to adopt a residential exemption for fiscal year 2023.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. And lastly, I move that the select board vote not to adopt a small commercial exemption for fiscal year 2023.
Second,
Any further discussion?
no.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Becky, does that conclude?
The
What?
work that needs to be done tonight, Jeff Quackenbush, who is present, will be signing off on the LA5, posting, giving his signature on Gateway, DLS Gateway, which will trigger the calculation of our final tax rate, and which we should have shortly. And I have not familiar enough with the process to know if we'll have tonight or tomorrow or by the end of the week. But I think if all the accountant's work has been submitted, I think it should be rather immediate. Okay, no other questions?
I just wanted, while we have Leslie and Jeff here, I just wanted to check in about the so that bill was passed for the means tested senior citizen property tax exemption. When does that come into being, sort of?
What, would anybody mind if I answer the question?
Go ahead.
I think I had the most recent conversation. Well, Leslie, you did too. Our understanding is, in discussion with our consultant, Roy Bishop, that the work that has to be done by the select board in determining which percentage to use is based on a financial analysis that is done ahead of setting the tax rate. We were in a point of time that it will impact us in FY '24 and not in FY '23. So we will be, the select board will be engaging in this with the financial analysis, determining the tax rate during this year, and then it will become effective next year when the tax rate is set. We were too far along in the process to realistically do it for this year, was the advice we were given by both Lauren Aldridge of DOR and Roy. Leslie, do you have?
The only thing that I would add is that when if the governor had signed before July 1, it would have been much simpler. But you stated the advice that I heard very well.
So this could go into effect, this property tax exemption could go into effect next year?
Yes.
Or FY '24.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So, and the select board has some decisions we have to make regarding how much is exempt?
Yes, there's a, is it up to 20%? I don't have the law in front of me, but the select board can determines the percentage, and that is going to be given as an exemption to people. I think it's up to 25 or 50%. Jeff, do you know?
I think it says the amount of exemption shall not be less than 50% and not more than 200% of the amount of the circuit breaker.
Oh, the circuit breaker. Thank you.
Income tax credit.
So it's based on the income tax credit. So when you do your mass income taxes this year, you should note whether you're eligible for the senior circuit breaker in your mass tax income tax. If you are eligible, then you will be able to participate in FY '24 in this new exemption.
So it's an exemption on top of the circuit breaker exemption.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so the one addition to the, Leslie?
I'm
do you
right
have a
here.
Question?
Leslie Tronick has his hand
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
raised.
sorry.
I see.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay, so Jill and I have been in conversation with the previous assessor for months and months. And there's a little frustration here, I must say. So when will the Board of Selectmen be making a decision on the percentage for fiscal year 24 that will allow for that senior exemption?
I don't see why we can't do it the next month or two. It's
I
not
think-
going to go into effect until fiscal year, so July 1, right? Is that correct? July 1 of 2023?
We will be dependent on the consultants guiding us through this, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Becky, and they will tell us when this would take effect. Or not when that would take effect, but when the vote occurs. And I don't know what the calculations are based on. So I would hesitate to give an answer to that until we have their advice.
So they're going to be advising us on what percentage? Is that what you're saying, Leslie?
If you don't mind,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think what Leslie's saying is the consultant, we are dependent on the consultant to prepare the financial analysis
I see. Okay.
into the select board in determining which percentage to give.
Okay.
Because it'll impact other people ever so slightly in their tax rates, because whatever the total amount that is being exempted will be added to the tax rate and spread to everyone else, to everyone, including those who get the exemption. But to do that calculation, we will have to have the consultant do it. Leslie and I are not, and Jeff are not are prepared to do that. I anticipate that to happen in the spring with plenty of time to be ready for the coming year.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better.
Yeah, and it could
So-
be January, February if we have the consultant in place.
I think
Okay.
we're all in agreement, the sooner the better, for sure. And I appreciate Leslie Luchonek's desire after the long wait to get this done. I'm not trying to stop it. My question that I don't have the answer to isn't when the consultant would be available, but when the information that the consultant needs to use is available. It may already be available. I'm just not clear on this exemption. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Leslie. I'll take one more question, Jill.
Yes, thank you. So what I think I'm hearing is that you could do this for fiscal year 2023, but you're choosing to put it off, wait a minute, to 2024 because you've gotten advice that it's too far along in the process. Do you have a choice to do it for 2023 versus 2024?
I did not understand that we had a choice. We asked the consultant to look at it and he said, it's too late. Is that your recollection, Becky?
Yes, I think we would have had to have the information about at least 2 months ago. I mean, if the tax rate has to, we need to get the tax rate set before, I believe it's December 17th. So we needed to move ahead and going through doing the extra. First, we hadn't contracted for the extra work, not knowing it was needed. We would have had to amend a contract, then gotten the work done, then taken it to the select board. And that all would have probably taken at least a month. And it was too late in the process when we learned about it. Well, it would have taken probably more than a month because it took us about 2 weeks to figure out what we had to do. So no, that was the advice that we were given by DOR, that this can't happen until, it needs to happen earlier in the year so you can add it to the tax rate. This exemption is dependent upon its being given a place within the tax rate.
And this bill.
So,
when
I'm
was this
sorry,
bill
so all the towns in the Commonwealth are not going to be doing this for 2023 because the governor signed it too late?
The governor only signed for Shutesbury. Our legislation that we approved by town meeting and moved forward through the legislature took almost 18 months to get through. And it was only for Shutesbury. The rest of Massachusetts, it's not, I think there's still only 21 towns that have this exemption. I don't have the exact number, but it's not this, we were acting individually. We went through the legislature and the timing of receiving it was not in our control.
Okay. And it was just signed October 31st. So we were well into our process where that wasn't a very large window. So I want to move along because that was just an add-on to the, so I would say if you have other questions for the assessors, please forward them to them. And so I want to move along to the next item on that was not on the agenda, but that I asked to put on this evening's agenda, and that is.
May I just suggest you close the
Oh,
tax
sure.
classification
Okay.
hearing?
Thank you,
Yes.
Leslie.
All right. Do I hear a motion to close the tax classification hearing?
So moved.
Any further discussion? I will second it. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Okay, so the other thing that
Do
was.
we have minutes first, Rita? Excuse me.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so we have minutes. I didn't print them out, but I did go through them. Was that November 9th?
November 1st and 9th.
1st
I
and
believe.
9th.
I believe that's what we have, right?
We have two of them?
I
Are they
sent
both
the
on the
9th
agenda?
today.
I'm sorry?
I sent the 9th out to you today.
Yeah.
But that wasn't on the agenda.
Right. So that one you'll have for the next meeting on
Okay.
the December 6th.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of November the 1st?
Yeah.
2022.
So moved.
And I will second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. And we'll go through those other minutes and have those for the next meeting. Okay, I'm going to see if I
Sorry.
get my voice to last here. So what I wanted to discuss is whether the select board wants to make a recommendation to the finance committee. The Conservation Commission has asked the finance committee to put an item on their agenda tonight and put a request in for a transfer of $2,500 from the FinCom reserve to pay for special counsel for the Conservation Commission. We talked about this at our last meeting and supported the, not unanimously, but we voted to allow the Conservation Commission to secure outside counsel, but not to use funds from the legal counsel line item and suggested that the Conservation Commission look at its own fee funds that they have.
What
And
funds?
I'm
Sorry.
yeah, please mute yourselves.
Yeah.
Fee accounts that the Conservation Commission has, or going to the Finance Committee. And I learned today that the Conservation Commission is on the agenda. And what I want to propose is that the Select Board take a position about the Conservation Commission securing those funds. And my recommendation is that that the Select Board support the Conservation Commission's request to the Finance Committee. And if that is the case, I plan to attend this evening's Finance Committee meeting. Well, I'll probably attend either way. Discussion, Eric?
Yeah, I guess it's me.
You're the only one here.
I guess I am, right?
Yeah.
Make a motion, it needs to get seconded.
Okay, I made a motion. So do you want to second it, Eric, or?
I will second it.
Okay.
And I would
Discussion?
also just comment that I was the one who voted against us using the line item in the budget for that. And I really did that as much as anything else. It just sort of seemed to me, I was afraid that it would promote sort of an adversarial relationship, which we're trying to avoid in this whole situation. If in fact this this proposal we're speaking of, where the Finance Committee puts some money from reserve funds toward it, it seems to me that maybe there's a chance it will help the situation. So I guess I'm in favor of that. I would caution that this is going to mean more legal fees. So you know, the legal, one of my fears is that the line item or line items, whether they're from reserve funds or from the line item relating to legal fees, in either event, my fear is that our total legal fees would go up significantly. And I still think that's true. I'm still not really in love with this idea, but I'm also fine with it if that's what the majority of people think, and I'm all for that. I want this to work. I think that should be the Select Board's position, is that we want this to work. And if this is what'll make it work, I'm all for it.
Okay. I really don't have anything to add this evening. I intend to speak if allowed at the Finance Committee meeting this evening. So I guess the thing I would add, Eric, is that I agree in full with your sentiments. I think it's really a shame that we are at this juncture where the Select Board is having to hire an attorney because the Conservation Commission is hiring an attorney. And the ideal of worlds, this would not be any kind of what's feeling like, you know, more of an adversarial process that we could have worked cooperatively together to kind of reach agreement, and we're not there. So, you know, I think, you know, I want to just move on and recognize that that this is the chosen path, and we will go down it now. Miriam, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for this discussion. I on behalf of the commission, I want to express my gratitude, our gratitude for your being willing to take this position. I just want to clarify that we are requesting these funds because we have legal questions that we need to consult with an attorney to get legal advice about our permitting and regulatory authorities. So this is not like a position or a road we're going down where we want to be adversarial or we're thinking that we're going to take legal action. That's not what this is about. It's that we've been confronted with some legal questions, as we often are in our day-to-day functioning as a conservation commission. And ordinarily, we would reach out to town council, and we do that regularly, but we can't under these circumstances. So we're trying to live up to our charge and do our duty, and we need some legal advice in order to do that, but it's not because we're taking any legal action or intend to. That's not what it's about. It's really about making sure that we do things correctly so that we don't, in making errors, create more legal trouble for the town or more legal expenses for the town. That's what we want to avoid. And that's why we always consult with town council when we do it. It's really to avoid risks. And I, would just say also, the select board can hire an attorney. You're certainly welcome to do that if that's what you decide is in your best interest. We often go to town council to ask questions about applications where the applicants don't have an attorney, because it isn't a legal, there's no court matter. We're not going to court. We're not suing. Nobody's necessarily suing us. We just want to have some procedural or regulatory questions. So that's your decision. If you feel like you need counsel, that's not any of our business, but I don't think we're forcing you to do that. That's certainly not our intention. Thank you.
Okay, so this is just kind of a straw vote. It's, or maybe it's an official position. So did I make a motion? Or I'm going to make a motion that.
I think you did, yeah.
I did. Okay, and you seconded? You did.
I
Okay,
did.
we had our discussion.
Yeah.
All right, good. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so a little foggy here. Okay, all those in favor of signifying support for the Conservation Commission's request for a transfer of $2,500 from the FinCom reserve, please signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, I don't think we have any other business to conduct this evening. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night. Thank you.
Thank you.